there's no, hey, hey, Stefan, I guess we're live now. Um, like I was telling you, there's mine are a little bit different. Like I said, it's more of a conversation. It's more, you know, you can ask me or I can ask you. We were just trying to get to know each other. There's no like a list of questions that I go through. I have some general questions, a lot of it pertaining to the little bit of information that I've been able to obtain from watching your videos and stuff like that. But yeah, it, like I said, I try to make it a little bit more relaxed and more to try to get to know the guests.
I appreciate that. I feel it's good to meet you. You know, we watch each other's videos, and so this is like rubbing antennas is what I call it. Like when two ants find each other, and they're like, "Oh, we're the same species."
Yeah, yeah, it's people have always asked me why did I start a channel, and originally it was the I guess the same inclination that we all have that we want to share whatever little knowledge that we have and be able to share that with other people. But that was just kind of like at the beginning. What's really driving me now and my motivation to try to do all of this is exactly what's happening right now. The opportunity to get to meet other content creators. And okay, that would be a misnomer because you don't have to be creating content. You just have to be in the hobby. And it's giving me a great opportunity to meet other like-minded people like yourself and like some of the other guests that I've had on here and like almost everybody in the well not almost everybody in the chat and that's what's I've kind of if somebody asks me what's your channel about, it's my channel is about getting to know members of the community.
Well, I mean, this YouTube is such a young concept. You know, there's no precedent, no like history of people doing it before us, not really. And so,
Yeah,
kind of breaking new ground in terms of how sharing a hobby like this can actually be. Like, who knows what we're doing, right? I remember as a kid setting up my first fish tank. You know, the only interaction I had with community was like my buddies, and we would, sort of trade fish with each other. And then I had a paper route. Remember newspapers? I
yeah.
had a paper route, and what little money I made from that, I'd go like to the one little fish store like up the street, right? That was in walking distance, and I blow my like paycheck on fish, right? And so that was the community, a couple friends, and the old man who ran the fish store. There's no other
Yeah.
community. I mean, zero. You didn't interact with anyone. You never saw anyone else's fish tanks. You never heard anybody else's ideas. You know, Petco and PetSmart weren't even really. I don't know what. I think they just sold cat food to old ladies at the time. You know, there would there was no there. And now, oh my God, I mean, you can watch these guys in Germany and the Netherlands and Japan with all their fancy aquascapes, or you can get all nitty gritty with, characters like Father Fish, or you can, I like watching Alex on Fishery and nerding out on all the sort of aquarium stuff. Like none of that existed when you and I were starting out, right?
Yeah,
So
I think that's one of the beauties of technology is because before if you wanted to interact with the community, the fish keeping community, you either had to belong to a fish club or you had to well that was really just it. I mean you had to be
yeah,
part
that's
of a
it.
club. Yeah,
And
that was
I
the only way
wasn't.
that,
I was a kid with a paper out, and I had like a 10-gallon aquarium, and and I had butterflies and moths. I was a nature nerd, but it was all in my head. Like I didn't have a community. Um, I mean,
yeah other
you
than
have your friends, and we'd go fishing in Lake. I'd go fishing in Lake Michigan here, and sometimes we catch minnows and try to keep them alive and see how it goes. I mean, I loved it then the way it was, and I really love it now. Like it's better now. It just it's better in so many ways, and this is one of them.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the upsides of the advent of technology. I mean, it's just being able. I always tell I always tell this to my guests. Is if it wasn't for this technology, you and I would have probably never really crossed paths, even though we're still
No.
living in the same world, right? But it's like we're almost a world apart because you're in Illinois, I'm over here in southern Arizona, and if we ever crossed paths, we wouldn't even known what we had in common. Um, but because of technology, we get to watch our videos and you go, oh, okay, I can see some of myself in what he's doing and so forth, and then it also, to me, it's like a very useful tool because tips. You can just type in something. I don't know how many repairs around the house I've been able to do just by watching an instructional video.
Yeah.
Um, whereas before, you either had to know somebody or you had to go read about it. And I don't know about you, but I'm more of a visual learner. I have to see what you're doing than just reading about it and being able to do it. I don't know. My
Well,
brain
a
is
lot of
wired.
it's funny. I think the way, especially in this hobby, I don't know how it is, with power tools or other things that have manuals with other technology, but a lot of our equipment comes from China, and you can tell from the instruction manual.
Hello.
Say hi,
Hey,
Stefan.
Hi, Stefan.
what's your what's your name?
What's your
What's
name?
that one?
Dominic.
Tell.
My name is Dominic Stefan.
Hey,
It,
Dominic. I'm Stefan. Does he like
yeah, he's
does he got fish? You into it?
yeah he likes going to the house and visiting the fish room. So,
I bet.
but right now we're at his house, hanging out with him, and a little bit we're gonna go watch him practice, him and his brother. So
Hey,
we'll be
sounds
we'll
good.
be hanging out for the rest of the afternoon.
Cool beans. Nice to meet you, Dominic.
Hey, bye.
Bye.
See you later, buddy. They get a kick out of their grandpa being on the internet.
My daughters, they're young adults, but they feel the same way. I think. I know two of them do. I went to a concert with one, so I like mixing it
Yeah,
with them, mixing it up.
I saw the post you put up. I guess either today or yesterday.
Yeah, the
Well, I
other
saw it
day.
today, but yeah, yeah. No, that's my grandkid. I have two of them. Well, actually, two here, and I have two more in Houston that we're gonna go pick up in June, and they'll be hanging out with us for probably the entire month of June, probably a couple of weeks in July, and then we'll take them back. But yeah,
So
it's
and he's about what? He looked about 11 or 12 or something.
he's 9.
Oh,
He's
okay.
9.
So
Yeah.
now that's when I started doing this, um, uh, the hobby myself. And, I have wondered, I, our hobby, it's no secret that, like certain other things like coin collecting or something, it's older people, right? And
Yeah.
so getting kids involved, I mean, in a way, it's the future of the hobby in a major way. So I would hope technology would help. I gotta believe it does. Although, he's obviously not going on his phone and looking at aquariums, but maybe somehow, some way, it'll all come together, right? So,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's especially in today's world, it's important to try to give them a hobby that's not in front of a screen. Because right now kids get so wrapped up in playing video games, watching videos, and all that stuff. It's nice to be able to get them started on something else that's going to give them a little bit of a break from staring at this little screen and just be able to step away. It's just
Oh, I couldn't
I
agree
know.
more. The funny thing is, I'm looking at all my fish tanks, and basically they're like dimensional screens, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a TV in my office or my den. I'm looking right at where the TV would be. It's a 22.5 high aquarium, heavily planted tank. I just posted on that one, and I remember we moved to this apartment, and my wife's like, "Well, you can put the TV there, right?" And I'm like, "I'm not gonna have a TV, you know. If I watch anything, it's on my computer." And
Yeah.
I'm like old school. I still love going to the movies. Like, I like going to the movies, right? And so I don't need a TV. I can watch sports in the living room. I can watch, whatever I want on this computer, the way I'm watching you, and then the rest
You
is
know,
fish.
it's interesting that you say about going to the movie theaters because I remember there was a point, especially when like Netflix really started taking off and all these streaming networks,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that I said, you know what, I'm never going to the movie theater. But it's funny because the movie theater offers an experience that you could never ever, uh, replicate at home. It's just a different, or I don't know if it's nostalgic because we did it as as kids and growing up. I don't know if it's so much for kids nowadays where they're so used to everything on demand and they can do it. But for me, I really do enjoy, especially if it's a action packed kind of movie that's going to have a lot of scenes that are complex and sounds. Oh, I enjoy the theater experience a lot more than watching it at home.
Yeah, and then
But
you can't replace like that popcorn. Something about it. I mean,
yeah,
I went to see a movie the day before they shut everything down in California for
uh,
COVID. I was like, and then as soon as they opened them up a little bit, but you could only go in like with mask and all, I still went and I owned the place. I was like, felt like a big Hollywood movie producer. I was me and maybe one other person watching, whatever Marvel's throwing at me. It was awesome. Me and my Diet Coke and my popcorn. Uh, but you're right. I mean, and so I'm glad you're going to go watch your grandson. I'm assuming it's baseball or something, soccer.
they're right now they're into football.
Oh,
They're
okay.
they're
Well,
doing they're doing drills for. I don't know where this came out of the blues because I played
football,
sports
but
growing up.
it's like, but we're entering into the summer season. So,
Yeah, yeah, they're doing camps out here. That's what they're going. That's what he's going to. And they've
so
never. This will be the first organized sport that they get involved with. I've never really pushed. I used to be an athlete, believe it or not, but I lettered in football, basketball, and baseball when I was in high school, and
wow.
so
No, no
and
room for
baseball
aquarium.
being yeah, yeah. Well, I did keep one 10-gallon aquarium. That was when I first started. It was probably about my sophomore, I guess, halfway through my sophomore year because that summer and then junior and senior year is where I had my aquariums. But that's when I finally was working. I had a little bit extra, money. I could go now afford to do these. What it's I guess it's all relative, but they were kind of like luxuries growing up because there was other essentials that my parents needed to take care of, like rent and electricity and food. So an aquarium was one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, that you gotta have to wait for that one. So as soon as I got my first job, I started saving up some money. I was trying to save up to buy a brand new aquarium. I think it was like a 20-gallon, but one of the days coming back from school, I happened to walk through a yard sale that they were doing, and they had the old 10-gallon slate bottom aquariums with the metal frames. And I think the guy gave it to me for a couple of dollars. And but I remember that sucker was heavy, and so that was like my first aquarium, and that's what got me in up until like I said, probably about uh, the summer of my of after graduating, and then I got into school and was going to I was going to our local community college, but I wasn't too sure at the time what I wanted to do. So I took off to the military, did that for a while, got out, and then just life happens, after after that. And I just kept getting busier and busier. And it wasn't until a few years ago now that I finally, all my kids are grown out. It's just me and my wife at home now. And it was kind of like one of those situations where it was like, now all of a sudden I have a little bit of time. So just randomly again, I was looking at I like hot rods and stuff like that. So I used to consume a lot of content regarding overhauls and retro mods and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know how I stumbled on aquariums, but in the late 80s, early 90s, fish keeping was totally different than what it is today. One of the biggest attractions and appeals to me what was new was plants, live plants in aquariums, because growing up everything was plastic. And that fascination has not left me at all, which is one of the reasons why I'm mesmerized by your channel, because of your aquariums and the way you have them planted and all that. So that's kind of what really brought me back in. It's that evolution of the hobby and those changes that occurred, and just kind of I've been down that rabbit hole, and that's kind of what I keep. I see a lot of the things that you're doing are similar to the stuff that I like to do, so I can relate a lot to what you have going on in your fish room.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way about what you have. You have a true fish room. Mine is sort of a hybrid, a little bit of a gallery, a little bit of an office, a little bit of a little this, a little that. But I spend a great deal of.
They have a question here. There's a question here. They're I don't know if you're familiar, but within the community, one of the community members created like this. I don't know what to call it. It's it's like a focus website for everybody that's doing content on YouTube related to the fish hobby, or not everybody, but everybody that's aware of it. And they'll try to post your information on there, so that when people go looking for information on you, they can find your channel. It's called Fish Fam Link, and Matt is the one that put that together. And then there's a group of other people in the community that are really involved. Mandy being one of them, Stephen P, Jenna, and a few other people that I think Dee Dee, I forget, but there's like a core of them that make that website run. And they're asking if you have any other social media outlets that you use so they can add those to your account.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is the main one. I appreciate that too. And all those names that you mentioned, I recognize all of them, so that's cool. So thank you out there for thinking of me in that way. And I've heard of Fish Fam. I haven't participated on it, but I mean, that's likely something I'll do as soon as we're done, just because it feels like something fun to explore. I've heard of it. Other socials, I have an Instagram, but generally I just post a picture of highlighting what my next video is going to be about. But I stay with it. Like I'm always so I have that. And then it's kind of for Facebook, I generally go to it to see what the vendors are at my local swaps. Occasionally I'll post like something I do with a family member, but mostly I use it for this hobby.
Thank you, Mio. Yeah, no, it's been it's amazing what they've been able to accomplish and do on there, and it's a really useful tool. The other thing that's really neat, like if you're looking for somebody that, I use it all the time, because there'll be times where I'm just trying to find something to do, or for example, in my fish room, I'm doing water changes and I want to listen to something. You can go there and they'll tell you who's going live, and you can discover a lot of new channels that way. or you can just, people that you can go to their live stream if they happen to be going live, because it'll notify you that when people go live.
Is the person who commented, are they gonna hook me up, or how does it work?
Yes, I think they already added you to that, Mandy.
Okay.
You guys already added Stefan to that, right? Yeah, it's incredible. I don't know. Half the times we'll be talking and people are getting added on there, the links and all that stuff, and uh, by the time I finish telling them, they're already in the system.
Yeah, I'll be. You can count on my presence there. It sounds like just the thing, just another layer and level that will make the hobby even more interesting to me than it already is. So I'm happy to participate and be a part of Fish Fam. I just hadn't done it before. So
Well, you're officially part of Fish Fam now. So welcome.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mandy.
Yeah, you mentioned when you were talking thank you, Mandy. You were talking about a whole bunch of things made my mind go off in different fun places. Like, first of all, the slate bottom metaframe tank. You go on Esty, they're $50 if you're lucky, and
Oh wow.
usually it costs more if they're in good shape. So those are, there's that whole thing. I collect some in my fish room. I've got some vintage fish keeping stuff, and if when I do my tours,
Hmm.
that's generally when I show, and it's like stuff from the 70s, the 60s. The crap that we bought when we were kids, like the bubbler, the scuba diver, the sea monster, SpongeBob, that sort of stuff. I
Yeah.
don't put that in my tanks. Like, I like to think that my tanks are these like little water boxes of nature, but I have a soft spot for them, and it's perfect like decorations. So anyone out there who wants to enhance even beyond how fantastic this hobby already is, the stuff you do in and around your where you keep your fish tanks can be just as stimulating as what you do inside of it. So like old aquariums or decorations, magazine covers from the 40s with like hand drawings of angelfish, all that cool collector stuff from even before our time. I find it fascinating, so I populate my fish room with some of that cool stuff. And the internet allows me to, sometimes I get in the rabbit hole and
If,
I'm going to find like an old time fish bubbler, and I go to eBay and there they are, and I buy one and then I display it. I put
yeah.
it next to like an aquarium.
Uh,
So,
if you really like that stuff, there's actually a channel on YouTube. It's a
yeah,
gentleman that has a museum of
the museum
all
of it,
antique aquarium stuff. I don't know.
I watch it. I love that
What is
shit.
it called? The Museum of
Pardon my
what?
French. Um, it's
No,
like
you're good.
MOA something, like it's got a short Museum of Antique. If you Google it, you
Yeah.
find it. I don't know it offhand, but I go to it all the time. It's like I
Oh
just
yeah.
have start typing. I don't need to remember. And yeah, he does these 5-minute videos where he unboxes stuff that he gets from all over the world now, and it's in California somewhere. Uh, and
Oh, okay.
he
I didn't know that.
yeah, you could actually like. Well, he does. They don't allow live visitors unless you make a special. But he's got an amazing amount of cool, like really fancy old aquariums that like super
Mhm.
rich people had in the 20s. They're made of brass. They're the glass is that like you can't, it's not very good in terms of seeing the plants and the animals, but it looks beautiful, and people would put them in their living rooms. They didn't have any filters, they didn't have any lights, they didn't have anything. So they were doing,
Well,
this they were doing it in the 20s 30s with these aquariums, and he
I
collects them.
I think what it was is that those were going to be like um oh, the word just left me.
Like,
Centerpieces. They were like furniture pieces So they
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
look very nice. It's not just a glass box because you were going to put it in your living room or you're going to put it in whatever room, and it had to be part of the decor of the houses. So yeah, they're a lot more elaborate. I think they were more, I guess, aesthetic pleasing than functional, but they still kept fish in them, and that's why right now when you were saying that, I laugh about these whole nonsensical debates that we get community or when you go back and you look at that stuff or you look at what they're doing outside of the United States, and you find people that are just have styrofoam boxes or plastic totes filled with
Yeah.
water, and they're breeding guppies and they're breeding all these other fish in there, and it's all just biological filtration at the end of the day. That's all it is. um,
With
so
with
it's
what some water movement, and then yeah, like people in the Philippines, Indonesia, Southeast Asia. I know those. I watch those channels. I can get absorbed. I don't even understand the language, but I understand the language of fish keeping, and so the way they like throw some leaves in a bunch of tubs, and like gnarly old air stones, and they're raising and creating fish that I'd only dream about finding in a pet store here, like stunning fish, just using green water and Daphnia, all the things that I try so hard to like cultivate artificially, within the reality of my living arrangement. Now, you could put a tub outside, I'm sure, and you do, I think. I think you do stuff outside in your fish world, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that. Right now is the best time of the year to do it, and right up until probably the end of June. By June, I have to move it under the covered patio, but after June, it just gets too hot. Even if it's under a covered patio, just the temperatures. The problem is we stay consistently around 112, and at night it doesn't really dip below 98. So it's just constant heat, and that you never give it a period to be able to cool off any water that's outside. It just stays warm all the time.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I
So
can
I
do it.
was
I
in
tried
North.
it one.
Go ahead.
Oh no. Like I said, I tried it 1 year, and I lost a whole group of the I think of the coral blue platies, and I was so upset because it was one of those things where I kept pushing, and I kept saying, "I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow," and I waited one too many tomorrows, and they all just died from, lack of oxygen.
Well, so I was in Northern California and it wasn't nearly that hot, but it was, so the season was kind of all year if you were, it got a little bit cold and rainy, but I used it out there not so much to cultivate fish, although I did do that with White Cloud Mountains. And by the way, the color that those fish got outside is transcendent. I cannot
Oh yeah.
replicate the deep maroon and gold that you get when you just put them out in a plastic tub, with a bunch of plants, and but I grew Daphnia cultures and mosquito larvae, things like that, and I would go out with the net and scoop them up and bring them inside and feed all the different ostracods, just the different microfauna that I could raise outside and feed it to all my fish. I still am a big believer in live fish food. I mean, I forget what I just moved to the topic of fish food, but I like love feeding live fish food to my fish. And it's not just because they really benefit from it. It's just I enjoy doing it. There's something that reminds me of going down to a pond and catching Daphnia. I don't do that. There is no pond like right by me in Chicago, really. There's Lake Michigan, but there's something really organic about feeding live food to your fish. And I don't know how you feel about it. I love doing it myself.
one of the things that I discovered from doing keeping fish outside in totes is you don't have to feed them. You don't have if you're keeping fish outdoors, you don't have to feed them.
No, you're right.
There's enough insects and microorganisms growing in those totes that you don't have to feed them, and that led me to understand that if I can an extent replicate that in my regular aquariums, I can go extended periods without having to feed. And if you allow a lot of those microorganisms to grow to the point where we've been able to go away for 2 weeks and go on vacation, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried. I was a little worried because I wasn't trusting the information. Um, but I came back, and one of the craziest things was how clear the water was because I wasn't messing with them. I wasn't in there moving stuff around. They settled in. The water was super crystal clear in the aquariums, and the fish were organic in there as far as most of the fish, at least for me, most. So worst case scenario, they start nibbling on some of the algae, they start nibbling on some of the plants, but they're going to make it through. And it's now to the point where I don't worry about it. If I need to go away for a weekend, it's like done deal. I'm not even thinking twice about it. I can just make sure that everything is operating correctly, and I can leave. And I don't have to worry about somebody having to come over and overfeeding my fish or doing any of that stuff. But
Yeah, I don't
I
like
didn't
that.
just
I don't trust like you. I get I can't lie either. When I leave, I get weird, but I'm not having someone come in my house. I get even weirder about that because everybody who's not in the hobby, their instinct is to overfeed, and we have to unlearn that. It takes forever. I still am guilty of it just because
yeah.
it's mesmerizing. You're walking around, you've got your like turkey baster and your Daphnia, and you're like, another squirt, another squirt, another squirt, and your brine shrimp. And before you know it, there's like you overfed, right? So, but if I have like a babysitter or a cousin come over, they're gonna that's more dangerous in my opinion than doing nothing.
Well, and the whole thing is I try to provide this information because I know there's people that get so handcuffed to the idea that their fish are not going to be okay if they leave them alone for 3 or 4 days, and they miss out on a lot of other things that are happening on around them, life in general, because they feel like they have to be attached to the fishery. Well, I'm trying to tell people you can still enjoy the hobby, but you can also be a normal human being and do things on your weekends. Get away for the weekend. Go do something. It's going to be okay. Um, Even with the bigger fish, because the bigger fish, the way I look at this is when I see these videos, fish when they get shipped, they can last up to a week in a box in the same stagnant water that they got shipped in and be okay. They're a lot more resilient than we like to give them credit for. Uh, so if you have them in your aquarium and you got your proper filtration in there, or you're doing whatever it is you're doing, have the confidence that they're going to be okay. Um,
That's right.
Now with the only thing with the bigger fish, I guess it's more of an aggression issue. I don't know. I can't speak on that because I don't own any of the larger fish. But I guess that could kind of lead into the whole thing. What kind of tanks do you like to keep, and why do you keep them that way?
Well, I have mostly nano fish like you do, but I also have a big display aquarium that has big fish, rainbow fish, and angel fish, and that I call that the mother of all my fish tanks. Right? It's
Yeah.
125 gallons. It's jam packed. Now I break certain rules like tried and true rules in this hobby. And I admit it, I own it. And one of them is I tend to overstock because of all you see all the plants that I like to keep, and I'm able to overstock, at least by the definition of one fish per gallon or whatever, that I completely have more than one fish per gallon. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I
One,
don't know what.
first of all, if you're keeping live bears, good luck with that, right? You're you're gonna have
Yeah,
50 fish in a 10-gallon tank just when you wake up in the morning when a few females drop, and there you go, you've broken. But I'm talking about, even in a heavily planted 20-gallon tank, I cannot count all the creatures I have in there between the invertebrates, the shrimp, the bottom feeders, the Coriodoras, the Rasboras, and the Tetras. There's really quite a few animals, and I don't think that would be healthy the way it is now if I didn't have a ton of healthy live plants and a jungle for them to navigate and go to and feed off of and hide and reproduce and just, enjoy their best life. But I do break that rule, and in some tanks, I don't have a choice. The fish just spawn, and I don't have a great. What are you gonna do, right? I mean, culling. No, we don't really talk about it, but either you're culling, or you're giving stuff away, or you're trying to sell it. But often, you just have too much, and I can't be setting up just tank after tank to accommodate offspring. I just can't do it. And I think you have a much more robust fish room to accommodate, breeding projects and things of that nature, whereas mine's more of a gallery. And if I've got baby fish, so, a lot of times I let the parents eat the fish, because
yeah,
I just consider that the food web, and it's like live food. Part of me wishes I could save a few, ram cichlids or angelfish or something, but I can't. I got nowhere to put those creatures, and I don't even have a 20-gallon empty tank to raise them up to take them to the fish store or a fish swap or a club. I don't have that outlet, and I don't want
yeah,
to have that outlet because that means I'm using super valuable real estate as a grow out tank, and I want to have my beautiful aquascapes and I want to raise plants. I want to do so much with precious real estate, that overstocking becomes, it's kind of like the world we live in, population's always go in one direction, never the other direction.
yeah, pretty much.
For better or for
Yeah,
worse.
yeah. For me, it was I. I guess I was a real victim of multi-tank syndrome because it just started. It didn't help that a lot of the equipment that I received, it was people that were trying to get rid of it, and I just happened to have the space. Um, so that's how I came to be with all these aquariums that I have. But as you start getting aquariums, you go, oh, okay, well now I can set it up here and I can set this one up there. Uh, Eventually, I want to get more serious into trying to purposely breed stuff. But right now, the breeding that's occurring in my fish room is more like I don't have to buy more fish if I can make more fish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If I can
that's right.
buy
That's right.
a pair or a few of them and they pair off, well then I'll be able to have a few more of those. And it's gotten to a point now where I try to stay active in our local Facebook pages that they have for the community. And when somebody's looking for fish, or they're trying to start up an aquarium, or even maybe looking for a tank or something, it allows me to go, hey, you know what? I got a 10-gallon that's sitting here. If you want it, I have some fish. I have some plants that I can get you started with, and hopefully we also be able to give them that success so that they stay in the hobby. So that's kind of where I'm at now with a lot of the stuff that I have there. I'm in a real weird situation because um, I'm 3 hours either east or west of any major city where I can either go visit a local fish store. So if I was going to breed for profit, then I would have to be breeding a whole bunch of other species that I could take that would make it worth taking a 3 hour trip to be able to stock a store. Plus, the other thing is the time. The time is the one thing that I think limits a lot of us because time is so precious. We have so little of it, and whatever we waste, we don't get it back. So I try to, especially, and then this is obviously talking from a 50-year-old who was in such a hurry to get to 50 that now that I'm there, I was like, oh, wait a minute, dude, you've already lived more than half of your lifespan, so you better take advantage of whatever you have left because none of that is guaranteed. So now I kind of look at things with a different perspective and I try to maximize the most of what I can because at the end of the day, we don't know how many more we have left.
Uh, well said. I mean, you're proving a bunch of things. You're not just philosophizing. I mean, you're not at home right now. You're out at your yeah. I mean, so you're not stuck in your fish room right now. Now, yeah, you're on a live stream, but that was because of my schedule, right? So
Yeah, well,
you're living your best life. You're living your best life.
what happened was I wasn't. My wife was supposed to be working today, but she had to change her schedule, and she goes, "We haven't seen the grandkids in a few weeks. I want to go see them." I said, "All right, let's go." So that's why when I reached out to you, I said, "Hey, can we push it back to an hour because they get off from school at 2, which would have been like 4 o'clock your time." And I said I can hang out with them, go have lunch because that's kind of what we like to do when we pick them up from school. And then I said I have about an hour in between picking them up from school, having lunch with them, and then before they have to go to practice. So I said, while they do their homework, I can, I'm trying to maximize the most of my time, which is, but that was just because there was a change in the way we were doing things. I wasn't supposed to be
Oh, so you're
here
yeah, okay.
today.
You're being honest. It wasn't like okay, yeah, you're not stuck in your fish room was the point I was trying to make, but you're telling me it was actually because of a mistake in schedule or what have you. And but still, I mean, that's tr- I don't want to be shackled to anything. I mean, I
Yeah.
believe in freedom of to be able to get up in the morning, and if you're not if it's your day off, and I want to go fishing, then I go fishing, and but right now I'm in the zone where um, making these fish tanks and doing it is bringing me the most joy of anything personal. I'm not including family, but personal, like passion. Like what would I like? I remember when I was feeling down in the dumps or something, I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, hey, Stefan, you know, clean slate, blue sky. What would you want to be doing right now if you could be doing anything?
Yeah.
And the answer wasn't ooh being in Tahiti or ooh this or that. It was, well, I'd like to be aquascaping another fish tank. You see? So I mean, it's like it's always in my top few things that I sort of wish I was doing, and I still fantasize about doing it, and I still, my I don't know what I don't mean to be race. I don't want to get racy on the channel, but like if I'm up at 2 a.m. on the internet, I'm not looking at naughty websites. I'm looking at
Hmm.
FishTube, and I used to
Yeah.
stare at coral when I had saltwater tank. They call it coral porn because you just stare at these people selling all these corals, and it'd be like, and it was like the same as like some creep in his mother's basement playing video games and watching pornography, but I'm not doing that. I'm like watching fish tubers like you or any of them, or saved up live streams and just kind of zoning out and staring at my fish. And so the question is, what would you want to be doing if you could be doing anything and there was no limit, right? And
Oh, that's easy. I've loved to travel. I need to see more of this world. I like to experience other cultures. I like to taste the food of other cultures. I've always been. I'm a foodie at heart. If there's a true passion that lies within me outside of fish keeping, is culinary. And
Are you a good cook? Do you know are you a good
uh,
cook?
I cook. I can. You can. My wife could tell you how good I am, uh, but I love to cook. That to me is an expression of love because you really have to love what you're doing to be able to to translate that into a dish. And to me, and again, I love it because I don't have to do it for a living. Anything that I would have to do for a living would quickly change my attitude towards that. That's what people say. Oh, would you ever do this a business? You know, the fish keeping stuff. It's like, no, I don't want to do this a business because then it goes from being a pleasure and enjoyment, uh, a stress reliever to a stressful uh, situation where you're having to worry that you're making sure that this is happening because you have these other responsibilities to fulfill. And my idea of fish keeping is to be able to sit in my fish room and just enjoy the aquarium.
Or
Yes, there.
or dabble, like, consider a plant here or do some research
Mhm.
about a particular fit. Yeah, I'm the same way. Now, back to your cooking thing, because cooking has at least as many YouTube channels as fish keeping. So, I mean, there's a ton. Do you ever like watch those shows, like guys making dishes and stuff? Yeah.
You know, it's funny because everybody assumes that everything we cook at home is probably like Mexican food. I know how to cook that stuff. Don't get me wrong, and I really like eating it. But I'm more fascinated by the Asian cuisine.
Yeah.
That is, I love the combination of the sweet, the savory, the heat, uh, the the acidity, all in one dish. And that to me is what just that just kind of blows my mind. You know, when you can taste something, you can get all these complex tastes and flavors in just one bite. And you can find a lot of that in the Asian cuisine. And
And you
that,
also find a lot of seafood and fish, and sushi is it's weird. As I look at my life, I love to go fishing and I love fish keeping. And like you, I love Asian food is maybe my favorite, and I love going to a sushi bar. It's the only place you can eat by yourself and not be self conscious, for one thing. But
yeah,
so when I used to business travel, I didn't have any problem like going to the sushi bar like that. I just asked the hotel where's the nearest, and I'd go and you could sit there by yourself, and the chef would prepare like these dishes of salmon and toro and the different. It's just weird how fish. You'd think I was a Pisces. Well, I'm a Cancer, so that's a crab. But I mean, fish is like my whole life is shot through with the creatures of the sea and the lakes and the rivers. I don't know. It's just between the food, eating it, and catching it, and raising it. But yeah, so the food channel, or I mean, YouTube has probably done a lot. I mean, I know it's done a ton for people that are foodies. Like my daughter's a foodie, and she'll watch a thing and then she'll try to make that dish the same way like we might watch an aquascaper and say, "Well, I want to do that. I want to use that stone or that wood or that plant." And she'll say she'll go watch the video and get the ingredients instead of like looking in the description for, you know, what aquarium did I use? It's like what ingredients, and then she'll buy those and try to make that for herself and for her like her boyfriend or whoever. And I could
yeah,
totally relate to that. And traveling,
yeah,
I
yeah. No, it's yeah. I guess my and that's always been. I mean, food to me. has been a big integral part of my growing up ever since. You guys already? Oh shoot! Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Oh, it's time to go to practice.
Yeah, the kids are getting ready to go.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
had
fair.
a little bit more time.
Wah,
Man, I hate to
wah.
cut this all short. I know I'm having such a good time. We're gonna have to definitely pick this up. Um, yeah, God, I hate doing this, but Stefan, I just wanted to say thank you for accepting my invitation and for also putting up with my time changes. I want to say thank you for that. But I feel we haven't even really gotten into a you
No,
know
of course
a
not. But I totally get what's going on. I can feel it in your life, and I absolutely am not bothered. I'd be more bothered if you told them to go without you, right?
oh
Like
no
that's
no.
yeah, yeah. So I'm all for it, and I'm
Can you
glad for
open the door?
Yeah, my
whoever's
grandkid.
whoever was listening or watching. I mean, I appreciate that too. And I look forward to like
Uh,
figuring out Fish Fam. I don't know if I'll get a link or if I just go to a website, but I'll explore that heavily.
yeah, I'll send you the link for that, and then. But I definitely want to continue this conversation with you if you're up to it.
Yeah, totally. Part two. We'll do part two in the early summer or something. Just reach out to me.
Okay, you got it, sir. Thank you
All
so
right.
much, and I want to thank everybody that joined us today. And I am so sorry I had to cut this short, but life happens. You guys take
Gotta
care.
watch. All right. Ciao, man.
Bye bye.